Yes.
Wait, do you go by Catherine?
Cat. Well, okay. So Catherine is my name, and professionally, that's like on all my business cards and my
Yes,
account
I
and
was
stuff.
confused just trying to look into your Instagram and it
No,
just
I
says
know.
cat,
So
cat, cat.
most
I'm like,
people call me Cat if they know me, but if someone knows me as Catherine, obviously I roll with it too. I don't
Sure.
like to correct people, but I feel like because we're already kind of on a more personal level, you can call me Cat.
so cat it is.
Cat. Yes.
Well, we're recording right now.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
I like to do cold openings with the
Okay,
guests.
okay.
So how you been? What's up with you?
I've been good. This year has been a wild ride. I think business-wise, it's been a total transition for me in the last like few weeks. I got back from a vacation, and before that, the first like month and a half was slow. I mean, it's the beginning of the year, so people are like, I spent too much money on Christmas. I don't see any value in spending money on photography. Like, there's a plethora of reasons at the beginning of the year why people don't want to hire a freelance photographer.
Well, for those listeners that are listening right now, this is Catherine, aka Cat, and what's your
My business name, Scratch Cat Shots.
I always get that confused. So she is
my
a
God.
photographer based out of here, San Diego, California, and yeah, if you could give us a little bit of background.
Yes, I have been a photographer, hobby-wise, passion-wise, since I was 14 in terms of just like started in high school. And then when I moved out here 10 years ago, I was working just like odd jobs, barely getting by, briefly went to school at community college, didn't really like go anywhere with that. Always had photography in my back pocket of just like something fun to do, loved it to death, took photos of my friends, everything, travels. And then 4 years ago, I was working at this hotel and I was
Here in San Diego?
Here in San Diego, yes, in La Jolla. And I was, trying to transition out of that, get a new job in that industry. A few months went by, no one was hiring me. I was like, this sucks. And I started talking to more people because on the side I would do photography here and there for money. It was like
What kind of photography?
at the time it was just like events and then here and there like portraiture, family portraits, stuff like that. Just people who knew I took photos would be like, oh, take my family photos. But it was not enough to make a living by any means.
Right.
It was just like on the side. And then for fun all the time. But I was like stressing out about these jobs that I wasn't getting. I went to an event to take photos for this nonprofit I was working with. It's an arts organization. And I was, complaining to everyone there, like, I don't know, what do I do with my life? And they're like, just do your photography. Like, I don't know why you're not even trying to do that. And I was like, that sounds crazy. Like, I've told myself from a young age, there's no way I can make that work monetarily. Like, I was just like, there's just no way. Like,
Yeah.
it was in my head as like a complete pipe dream.
I feel like you had to be like the 1% to like shoot for like Calvin Klein or
Yeah,
like Vogue.
of
Like
course.
those kind of photographers
Yeah.
are legit killing it. But like,
But
just-
how'd they get there?
exactly.
And I never thought about that. I was always just like, no, like I should be living in LA or New York. Like I just came up with reasons why not to do it. And then all these people at this one event, I remember it was this like Great Gatsby themed event. And I should have been shooting, but I was just complaining to everyone about like my life and not doing my job, which is ironic because they're like, you should do this professionally as I'm not doing my job. And the owner of the organization or the executive director was like, we will let you use our facilities for a studio. You can use our network of people to like showcase your work. Like, we will help
they
you.
were backing you
She was
up.
backing me up. She's like, I think you should do this. She's like, obviously money wise, I don't know if you have any help from your parents or someone, or maybe get a side job to just kind of like get you through the days, but you need to do this. And I was like,
Shouts to her.
no, shout out to her, honestly. And everyone in that organization was so supportive. And I did that night make a connection with this woman who ended up hiring me part-time to do social media. And that lasted a few months, great money. And it did help me kind of like float off the first couple months. But the first year and a half, I mean, it's still hard. I mean, it's a hustle.
Still not easy.
It's not easy in the sense of there's no security sometimes, and the consistency is just not there. And you lose clients. You gain a lot of clients all the time, but it's just constant networking, constant hustle. So, but the first year and a half, 2 years was just awful. And then COVID hit,
Yeah.
which was actually not that bad for me. I think I got a lot of more business because people had to take their businesses online or they needed content because no one was doing anything in person. So
Do you dabble in video or is it strictly photography?
I did for a while, especially with that organization. I did videography and photography for them. But
Jeez.
it's just...
Video's a little too much or not your thing?
It could be my thing. It's so tedious.
Super.
I mean, you guys, that's why you guys have your own thing. I can do both. I think I have the creative talent to do it, but the editing and stuff, I'm like, no, I don't have the attention to detail.
I mean, not to tell you what to do, but like potentially you could just probably be a director one day.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you could actually tell people what to shoot, how to shoot it. And
I could.
you don't have to deal with shooting. You don't have to deal with editing. You just
Yeah.
look at the whole thing and be like, I hate it or I like it or fix this.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like
I was helping out my friend Tim. He was doing a whole branding video shoot for his business, and he had a whole videography team come in, and it was this whole setup. And there was a woman there who was like just creative directing,
Yeah.
and I was like, that would be a dope
that could
job.
be you right there.
Could be me. I think I get a little territorial. I'd be like, let me just do it. Like let me just move. Let
You
me
gotta
do
let go of
it.
the creative control.
I know. So I'm not quite there in terms of the self control I have, but that would be goals. Obviously, I would love to start my own like production company or just collaborate with other people who do the same thing as me. I think a lot of us want to do that right now. Like that's why everyone's collaborating, and like I think that's a great movement that we're all kind of a part of, whether it's videography, photography, graphic design, whatever. If you have like a team of people who can deliver for a client that just needs like marketing, content, whatever, you're already doing way better.
Right.
Yeah.
No, 100%. So Kat, are you like full-time freelance, right? You're not like working with like an agency or
No.
marketing team or anything like that?
No, I'm full time. I mean, I have like clients that hire me consistently,
Right.
and in a way on retainer, not quite.
I understand because I'm the same way. Like,
Yeah.
there's like 5 clients that I constantly work with throughout the year, but it's not on paper as a retainer.
Yeah.
But they always hit me back up.
Exactly. And I do
The
think
funny thing is, like, sorry to interrupt, but
No,
like
it's
the
okay.
funny thing is, like, I try to offer the retainer route because it'll be cheaper on their end, but just they're like they don't want to commit, but they keep hiring me for these one-off projects. I'm like, dude, you could save a few $100s if you were just commit to 3 to 6 months with me. But whatever.
it's like dating. They're
Yeah.
like, I just don't want to commit right now, but we're dating exclusively and I'm not seeing anyone else. But I just don't want anyone to think you're my girlfriend or boyfriend. It's like, okay, whatever. But people have a fear of that, I think, especially when it comes down to money. Like, yes, you'd think they'd want to save money in that sense, but I think there's an ease of them being able to kind of like not drop you whenever they want, but they feel more in control of the decision versus like,
I think it is just a control thing.
It is.
Control factor.
we all got those problems.
So this is a funny question. Well, not too funny, but like, how's it feel being like first of all, you're the first female guest in the podcast. So appreciate you for being part of the podcast.
Special.
And how's it feel being again, weird fucking question, but a female photographer in a space where it's generally, for the most part, dominated by men. But I know in photography, there's a ton of female photographers now, but I feel like it's still dominated by men.
It is.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it depends on the type of photography. Wedding photography, for example, obviously way more female than
Yes,
male. And
true.
I think the times are changing. I mean, men for a long time were the most common photographers, and now you're seeing less of that. It's funny, I'll go to like the beach or something and I'll see these like older men photographers taking like someone's senior portraits, and they got like the flash piece at sunset, and I'm like, that's so cheap. It's so 90s or early 2000s. I'm like, how are these people even still in business? But they're
Killer product. They're
right.
delivering
I
a
know.
killer
I'm like,
product.
I don't know what Groupon they purchased to get this guy, but I feel so bad judging. It is definitely an interesting feeling because there are so many female photographers nowadays, but if you're not like connected to them or working alongside them, you do come across more men, or you just have to work with men that maybe are in charge, even as like your clients. I don't have any like intense opinions about it in terms of like, it's so hard, I get treated so poorly. That's not the case at all. I think my work speaks for itself. And over the years, I've definitely, had criticisms or people expressing what they think I could do better or worse at. But I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident with that. And I don't feel like I'm running into any like issues or misogynistic tendencies, But again, that's because I have a really good connection with other female photographers who are killing it. Like, I have a good friend who's a food photographer here in San Diego. She's like one of maybe 3 or 4 people that like run the scene. If not, it's her working with these clients above everyone else. And we talk about that all the time. She's been doing it for way longer than me. So she's definitely dealt with the past of...
She's pretty much paving the way for you in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Her and...
She's a little bit more seasoned in the game.
Yeah, seasoned, and she also does event photography and like nightclubs and stuff. And so that was also... It still is a bit more male-dominated in a sense, but I think this is the perfect time to get into that kind of stuff as a woman because we have the luxury of people before us kind of paving the way and paying the dues and putting up with stuff that I probably don't have to put up with anymore. And I'm also such as just, and I don't want to turn this into like some feminist, because I don't even identify as that type of person, but people who are too opinionated about how you need to be working. I mean, I feel like with men specifically in photography, they're a little bit more techie and geary. Like they're
That's
geary,
true because
geary.
I'm super into the.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. But that doesn't mean you don't have technique and an eye for things or any of that. But I think, I don't know if it's a male female thing, but I've just noticed men are definitely way more like, oh, what do you shoot with and what do you use? And let me explain this to you in a technical standpoint versus creatively.
I'm trying to think right now, and yeah, just thinking back of like all like the female like either videographers or photographers I've worked with. I tend to like talk to the guys, like especially like I'm thinking about this specific couple who I've worked with, and me and the husband, we like click by just talking about. We just nerd out with gear.
Yeah.
What are you shooting, bro?
Yeah,
What kind of lens are you using? And then like his wife, who's a photographer, is just killing it on her own, doing her own thing, kind of thing, you know. So yeah, just I never thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I work with like my friend Tim right now, who I've been getting a lot of like mentorship from. He'll talk to me. I
gotta get him in the pod, man.
You do. He would be great on this. He'll be like explaining. So I don't even know so much of what my camera can do, to be honest. Like the first 10 years of me using my camera was just operating off like it's creative. I didn't even really know how to use the settings. I swear to, and I'm still learning. It's like actually kind of embarrassing because he'll be like, oh, set it up this way, or he'll use all these terms and I'm like, yeah. And the other day that happened and he's like, do you not know what I'm saying? I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. And he's like, how do you not know this? But he's like, you're so good.
Yeah.
I can tell he's just like, what is going on? Like, are you okay? And I'm just like, I don't know the technical terms for things. I need to I've never taken a photography class. Like I took one in high school.
I'm sure you know the triangle exposure, right?
Like there's just so many
Jesus.
things. Don't start, gaslighting me into not understanding things. But truly,
That's like 101.
I know. And so there's so many things. I probably know what you're talking about, but I'm too embarrassed to touch upon that.
Again, like it's hard to even to fathom because like I see your work, like it just looks pretty good. Like, unless you're just a G at editing and you know how to fix it in post.
And that's another thing I'm not great at. I'm truly not a good editor in terms of like being able to make something happen.
Now you're fishing for some compliments.
I'm not. I swear. And I think that's the thing. My mom's always saying you're unconsciously competent. She's a realtor, and she's always just been naturally good at what she does. And I feel like I'm the same way. But that being said, I'm also at a place in my life where I know I need to step up and be better about the technical things and be a better business owner and learn the things that matter and the hard work and the repetition. That's where like that's how you get successful. You can have talent all you want, but if you don't like commit to learning and growing as just an individual, in our case, a business owner, and get that side of it, I'm not going to go anywhere. So I am in a very like sponge place right now where I just want to like learn as much as I can and watch other photographers and be okay with being ignorant and not understanding things. I have no ego about it.
I want to be the dumbest one in the room.
Yes, 100%. And even the people that are the smartest, even they have moments where they're like, oh, I don't really know how to do that. And to go back to the original question of like the female, male, men being more like geary and techie, I've also met a lot of male photographers that know a bunch of stuff technically, but they are very like, I don't feel like I have that creative of an eye. So that's where you come in and like, let's work together. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's how it should go. That's a true collaborative. If you know your strengths and they don't lie in the creative parts, but you know how to like execute the project perfectly. That's why you have a creative director. That's why you have someone running like how's this going to look side versus like, just come in, tell me where you need me to shoot and I will do the best I can.
Do you like for your shoots, cause I don't think you even touched upon this. Like, what is it that you like specialize in right now in 2023?
Such a hard question. I don't think I have a niche specifically because I do almost everything but weddings.
Because from the outside in, just looking at your portfolio and your stories and whatnot, like you do like events and like corporate headshots.
Okay,
if that's fair to say.
So I do kind of. So I do a lot of events for sure. That's like probably like my little, consistent money making thing where it's like it's easier for me, it's good money, and you're kind of in and out. But in terms of my like most common, it's headshots, portraiture, family portraits. So just portraiture as a whole. Oh, so
you're still on that wave?
Oh yeah. Okay. That's like that's portraiture and food and beverage and like travel and landscape.
I do love your coffee shots. Like shouts to you for the coffee right here.
I know. Yeah. Food and beverage is like my, if I could shoot, well, that's not true. It goes like travel, landscape, all the fun stuff I don't get paid for. Is like,
no one ever. That's probably like the one person that gets paid for like the travel stuff,
right?
Like the cool
and
fun stuff.
But it's this. I get the most joy out of it probably because I'm just like, that's so epic. I love sunsets and beaches and cheesy stuff. That is like my number one like passion in terms of like money making stuff, it's portraiture, events. And I do still do food and beverage stuff for jobs, not as much as I would like. I definitely do more photo, like lifestyle-y marketing stuff. I mean, so in 2023, I want to focus more on like working with larger brands and small businesses. I love that if I can be a part of them, especially if they're like just launching or creating their, I don't know, watermark in the community, or just like, hey, we're a new coffee shop, or I'm a skincare brand, or whatever.
Well, you live in the most hipster town of San Diego.
Yeah, I live in North Park.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it out there, but yeah, you live in North Park.
Here's my address.
So you could literally like dominate the space. Like it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
You do have to do those cold emails and approaches to like, hey, are you willing to do some
thirsty?
Yeah, exactly.
Thirstiness. Yeah.
But you got to put yourself out there. I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm sure you know exactly what you need to do.
I'm
but
not
like,
above that. Yes.
But like here in North Park, I feel like this is a good spot for whatever you're saying right now. This is the land to do it on.
Absolutely. And trust me, I mean, that's why I spend so much money, even though I make my own little cute coffees at home. I still go to a coffee shop multiple times a week and like sit there and support the business and just like look around and think like, oh, how can I like capture this space and make it look super cute and all this stuff. And then I do my research and go onto their Instagrams or their websites, and you can tell if someone already has a photographer versus not. So there's plenty of businesses where I'm like, oh my God, I would love to work with you. And then I do my deep dive and I'm like, they already have someone and they're good.
But okay, so you just said they're good, because I mean there are people that do invest in photographers or video, but it doesn't mean they're good. Like if they see your work, they're like, you know what, this is like there's another level of greatness, I guess.
Exactly. But the thing about that and working with businesses, specifically in the food and beverage world, it's just nowadays it's so easy to like avoid spending that money on things because it's so easy to repost everyone's on Instagram taking photos of their food, Yelp photos, whatever. And people at the end of the day,
they're getting free content.
Yeah. Why would they pay someone hundreds of, it's like, and for me, I mean, there's always like a trade aspect I would totally take for food and beverage. Cause it's like, I spend so much money on food and drinking and all that stuff. So
I just recently did a trade-off and it was amazing.
Exactly.
Great experience.
Pick and choose for sure. I mean, there's some brands and businesses I'm like, no, I wouldn't use this in my normal life. So I'm sorry, the trade doesn't make sense. Pay me or don't. Or find someone who will do the trade, because some people value that stuff. I've noticed that with like skincare brands and spas and stuff. A lot of them are, will ask me for trade. And at first I was like, yeah, maybe, but I don't really spend money on that kind of stuff.
And like I've never seen like nothing in your Instagram, like again from the outside, and nothing says like I do skin routine. Like I feel like you barely show yourself to begin with.
You gotta keep it mysterious. Well, that's why I also have 2 Instagrams.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, there's plenty of selfies on that one.
There you go.
But no, true. I mean, I want to keep it. So on my Instagram, I have it organized, and not everyone realizes this, but I have it organized in columns. So it's portraiture, whether that's family portraits, headshots, self-portraits, I don't know, pictures of friends, whatever. Portraiture, food and beverage, and kind of like travel, miscellaneous events, whatever like the third category is. But I have it organized on my feed so people can come and see. And those are like the 3 main things I want to get hired for.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
I thought about that when I first started doing this full time, as like, okay, how can I like make my Instagram look? Because some people do the thing
aesthetically pleasing,
but I don't have any like color coordinate. Like I have a girlfriend who's like a micro influencer, and she's worked from the bottom up. My friend Lindsay, the one you worked with her. Yeah. I used to live with her, and so I've seen her work from the ground up. She was a model for years, and then now she works for the marketing team at Hyatt. But she is great to talk to about like what will work.
She's really good at social media.
She's great at social media.
I need to get on the pod too. I just thought about that.
She's amazing.
She's really good.
And having her inform me of like what works, what doesn't. But there's just some things I'm just like, I'm not going to sacrifice that for this. And maybe it's a bad business choice. I'm not really sure. It's just a matter of like how much work and effort I want to put into like being on my phone all the time. Like I'm already on my phone so much, and I'm not trying to glorify like, oh, you shouldn't be on your phone all the time. But it's like, it's my own issue of like, now I need to be more intentional with what I'm doing on my phone and how I want things to look. So I'm at a bit of a crossroads with that kind of stuff.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're still growing. Like, I mean, you've been in the business and in social media for 3-4 years?
4 years of doing this full time. Okay. Literally, it was February 19th, 2019.
I feel like most content creators started right before the pandemic.
Yes. So I did it
the
for
last
about
guest
a year.
I had 2019 as well. The previous guest before that, 2019 as well. Started at 2019 as well. So it's
2019 was the year. I feel like so many people were like, I'm out from their lives before.
And then shut down.
Shut down. And again, COVID was weirdly beneficial for me, but
Same.
it was hard. I mean, we all had our own ways of dealing with that stuff.
But I feel like that gave us so much time to actually think and be creative with our work.
Well, especially because no one else was working. So it's not like I had the luxury of like, let me go find another job. It was like, no, we're all kind of unemployed. I was already like unemployed in a way before that. So my friends that were like freaking out, like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, this is like the same stuff I do every day. I sit around. If I don't have any projects to work on, which happens, I have lulls in between jobs. And like, even then I try to like do something with my website or something where I'm like, okay, I'm still working and changing and trying to network especially. But I have a lot of free time. I have a lot of time to just kind of like take my ease in the mornings and go to the gym and not, which is a luxury. And that's something I recognize because a lot of people don't have that. Yeah. And I have to remind myself constantly that like, I am lucky to do what I'm doing, make money, and also have the time and the space to kind of nourish my personal relationships and like everyone in my family. I mean, there's just so many good things about being a freelancer. But then the stress and the inconsistency and the hard, like,
heavy pros, heavy cons.
Heavy cons. And people get fixated on the fact like, oh, you have so much time, you must do it. And I'm like,
you're so lucky to do what you do.
I am lucky.
I'm like, bruh, you're lucky to get a check every 2 weeks, guaranteed.
Exactly. But it's a choice, and we made that choice.
True.
So it's not like we're,
Yeah, I'm never gonna complain. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, playing the devil's advocate role right here.
I try to remind people like it's not all chopped up to be in that sense. But then there's times where I'm like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like I don't want to like gloat either because it's not like I'm not working hard. It's just a different type of hard work.
For sure.
It's like when it's hard, and then you're chilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like you could like, it's like, what is that term? It's like you could like hyper focus on X amount of hours, like 3 to 4 hours of real concrete work. Mm-hmm. And that makes up for a general, like a 9 to 5, 8 hour standard.
Like the ratio.
Day. Exactly.
Like, of the hard work.
So like, yeah, when you're really working, you're actually balls deep.
Yeah,
you know?
No, you're grinding so hard where it's just like someone could spend 8 hours at their job and be getting 30 minutes of that job done, you know?
Exactly.
And we're just like,
yeah. I mean, it's super tough. Like especially January is like fairly slow because I mean, everyone's coming back from New Year's and whatnot. So like then like jobs or marketing departments are like, all right, need to figure out our 2023 strategy. We have all this marketing money, budgeting. Yeah, we got to figure out for how many projects. But now in February, it's like, or now March actually, it's like picking up the steam.
It is.
So
and these last couple of weeks specifically have been great because but I also have this great network of other photographers who refer me business, and they have been doing it for much longer than me. But they see the value in my work and they're like, I would try. And that's a great feeling when they're like, I usually would take this client. I don't have the availability. I trust you. You take them.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
cool.
For someone who's been doing this for 10, 15 years to give me their client and like, go have fun. I trust you. You'll figure it out. I'm like, I do feel a little like deer in the headlights. Like, wait, what do I do? And I ask them questions and they're like, you're fine. Like, just do it. Do what you already do. Like, why are you questioning yourself? I trust you. I don't trust other photographers. Like I trust you, so just do you.
Do you feel like you go through like impulsive syndrome?
Oh yeah, impulsive.
Or
like,
was it
imposter?
Imposter.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I was like impulsive.
Yeah,
I'm impulsive too. I'm impulsive and
tomato.
No, the imposter syndrome's so bad, and I get so nervous before a shoot if it's like with someone I haven't worked with before. Because
that could be a little tricky.
That's tricky. I mean, I think we all should be a little nervous of like, okay, hopefully this all. But I get very like, am I going to be able to deliver? And I start questioning like whether I can even do the job, which is crazy because I already clearly have done the job before. Maybe not with them, but like they know my work. They're excited to work with me. Why am I like questioning myself? But that's the word. That is the double-edged sword of social media and everyone being hyper-focused on how things look versus how things are. And yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure.
One thing I find interesting about like your socials, like you do have a website, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. That's a great thing. Like you're in the right direction as far as like you doing your thing, because I feel like a lot of people do not have a website, and I feel like it's so valuable to have a website. Absolutely. It just gives you that extra, as dumb as it sounds, it gives you that extra professional look because I have my own website.
If you don't have a website, what the fuck?
Relying on Instagram is not the way, but
no.
Hey, I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah.
But most creators that I follow and work with, they're all about BTS. I do see some BTS from you, but it's like I don't see a ton like I'm used to seeing from other creatives. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think it's completely necessary, or like my work speaks for itself kind of thing?
again, it's a matter of like how much effort I've been in the past been willing to put into my social media, and that comes full circle to like my friend saying like, you should be posting this, you should be doing this. And I've always been like, but why? Like, what's the goal here? Is it going to get me more clients, or is it just going to make me look cooler? She's like, it could be both. And I'm like, okay. And to be honest, a lot of it's like, I just don't have someone there to film BTS. Like even before we did this, I'm like, I had to take a video and like make sure we capture this because the shoot will go by. And I'm like, I didn't even get anything. I feel like such an idiot because I was such a dope shoot. So
but you're so focused on the work, which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's at all like hindering my progress or, network. It's just, it's different. I made an agreement with myself when I decided to do this that I wasn't going to do it to the point where it makes me so miserable and anxious and unhappy that it takes away from the love I have for photography. And as soon as I lose that, I will give up this job part of it.
Really?
I will. I've told myself, like, I mean, obviously I have anxieties and things like that, but I'll know when I'm just like, this is not fun for me anymore. This isn't making me happy. And I'm going to sell my soul and get a normal job or something. Because I think about it all the time. I'm like, is this something I'm going to do forever? I'll always take photos. I'll always do this on the side probably. But is this something I want to do full time? Is this the hustle for the rest of my life? I want to say yes now. But I do have that like, okay, but what's going to happen in order for you to give that up? And that is something I told myself, like, I'm not going to pressure myself to the point where I'm just like, so upset and anxious. And then when social media comes into it, like we all have our own insecurities with that, women specifically. So,
how so?
I mean, again, I don't want to make this into like women only men deal with it too, but women specifically, we have this like constant look at this person, what they're doing, and then look what I'm doing, and then how do they look physically? How are they looking?
Guys go through that too.
I know they do. You're right. They don't talk about it enough. So that's something that needs to change. That's something that needs to change. But I think it's just like I'm constantly looking at other photographers. And I'm like, oh my God, look at what they're doing with their free time. Look at how they're showing off how they work in the BTS and all that stuff. And then I have to stop myself and be like, that's not about them. Like, just do what you're doing. If you have the time, post that stuff, make the reels, whatever. But that's not going to make or break. I've noticed that that does not make or break whether or not I get a client.
Right.
And the quality of the clients I attract is way more important to me than just having like quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And obviously the right clients will pay the right price and you will get those jobs.
With no hesitation too.
No hesitation. That is another thing. It's just like the pissing contest of what's your budget? What's your rates?
Yep.
That little meme with the guns pointed at each other. It's like, and I'm all about communication. If you have a budget and you are not willing to waver, don't. But let's talk about this, especially if I want to work with someone. I'm like, I don't, but you can tell when you're getting taken advantage of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And vice versa.
Yeah. I almost threw out like a niche.
You
I
probably
deal
with that more than anything.
Yeah, video. I mean, it's always like, how much do you charge? And then I try to ask the right questions, and like I need to know. I can't just give you a number. It's not like going through a drive-through and like one price fits all. Like no, I need to know what is it that you want, how many hours of coverage, what kind of style of edit. Do you want a 30-second micro or do you want a 30-minute doc style? Like, if I don't know those answers, I can't give you a proper number. I'm not going to just throw numbers just to like get you as a client. Like, and most of the times you either leave me on red or they try to hassle me. And
leave me on red. The harshness,
which is fine. Like, dude, I've got so numb to that where like I just kind of like laugh and I just keep it pushing. It just happened to me recently.
Yeah, some
guy really wanted to do a hype fitness video, and I was like, yeah, just give you a heads up, man. I will charge you for this. This is not do not think it's going to be free.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, so how much would it cost? And I gave him the rate for this specific shoot and then left on scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, bruh, like the audacity to think that you're expecting a free video is
from
mind-blowing to me,
this
man.
Is my job. This is my full-time job.
Yeah, they may or may not know that. They might think I have like a normal job and this is my side hustle, but no, it's not. Like, but even if that were the fact, that doesn't even matter.
Inappropriate.
So
that happens to me all the time. And then you can tell when clients.
Does that like really hurt you when someone leaves you on scene or just
leaves me on
goes
scene?
with someone else? Like,
well, so that's so funny because I think about this all the time and I say this all the time to my friends. The professional rejection or ghosting, whatever. I mean, it's still the same. It's so much worse than like any kind of like romantic like situation. Like, because I've dealt with both.
I've been out the game for a minute, so
you
I
have. No. But like I've dealt with both, and it's funny because I'm like I'll have those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, can't believe I was worrying about that guy that didn't text me back or I didn't want to see again or whatever. And then like the professional version of that is like, it's hurtful when you put in a lot of effort. If it's a one quick conversation, oh, I didn't even know. What would you normally charge for that? It's already a red flag. When
That
they
specific
come to
conversation was like 3 days worth of DMing.
see, yeah, no, I can tell pretty early on, and I'll indulge and I'll respond.
Same.
And I'll
The red
give
flags
them-
were there, but I was
Yeah.
just playing with the idea. Like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Like, I may be blindsided.
Yeah, and you might
they
be like, all right,
it
let's
might be a
make this
$5,000
happen.
offer. Who knows? But
Absolutely. And some people take their time because they have to sit on it. They're spending a lot of money. I'm not sure, especially if it's for like a huge project. I'm in no way like, I need an answer now that I get. It's like, no, you gave them the thing, let them ponder it, let them talk to whoever they need to talk to get the money settled, especially for like a large brand. But for an individual like that, I've ran into that where I already kind of know in the beginning they're not going to hire me.
I do too, but I always like the way I see things is this is all practice. This is practice,
Can't hurt
practice.
at all. And you never know who they could refer you to.
Yeah. Like, and I always got to keep it professional. Like, I've never ever like went off on them. Like, dude, you cheap
you.
fuck or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, you wasted my time, 3
Yeah.
days of DMing,
No.
you cheap ass. Like,
You can
you
feel
never
that
know.
way, but you just you never
I
say
could
that
probably,
shit.
I could feel that way, but it's
Yeah.
like the way I see things, it's like I'm taking my reps. So like by the time that $10,000 individual does
Pop up.
hit me up
Yeah.
and reach out and we make it happen, I was prepared and ready for that conversation,
And that's smart to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because it's an ego. We're in my opinion.
I got to check my ego all the time, man. Like I do not believe I'm the best videographer ever, and I don't want to believe that either. Or as far as like the business goes, like I don't want to be. Fuck, I'm having a brain fart right now. I need a coffee.
It's
I need a
okay.
coffee
It's
sip.
okay.
I don't know what we're saying right
you
now.
You never want to be too proud to.
Yes, that's exactly.
You
what
want
it
to be
is.
humble.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
not. And I think that's again an important thing, an agreement I made with myself is like always make sure you're humble. Be okay with being ignorant. Learn from everyone, even if they're awful people and you never want to see them again. Those clients taught me more about anything than like the amazing clients I have. I love my great clients that deliver and they never question me and they pay my rate increase if it happens.
On time.
On time. Yeah, straight up. But it's the clients that like, screw me over or that even I wasn't my best self with, and I had to go through that. I'm still going through that. It definitely happens a lot less, if at all, but there's.
Can you elaborate more on that?
I mean,
You don't have to throw an exact example.
No. It's
but
okay. It's never about the work. It's always about just like how things were handled.
Sure.
Where I'm starting to realize like, okay, over communication in the beginning is so much more beneficial than it's almost like ask for permission before forgiveness or whatever. It's like, and some people see it the opposite way, like just do your thing and then they'll deal with it. No, when it comes to people spending money and content and like sometimes you only have one chance to get this shot or this capture this whatever it is, and I'm learning that like you need to over communicate in the beginning, even if it's kind of I'm having a brain fart too. Even if it's
I think I get what you're saying.
redundant and you just can't, if it seems annoying, but like I have learned the hard way that if you don't communicate that, sometimes you'll deliver and the client will be unhappy, and whether it's them not talking to you about what they wanted or you not asking the right questions, like going back to what you said, just ask questions and before you quote them and before you do any of that, because then the shoot is done, the money's been paid, and people aren't as happy as they wanted to be, and then you might not work with them again.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've always said this from the very jump. Like, ask the right questions. Ask a million questions. A, you do want to know what they're going to say because it's going to help you get that proper code. But B, it also comes off on the other side. Like, it comes off like, holy shit, this person actually cares about my clothes that I want to sell or the jewelry that I want to promote. Yeah. So maybe we should fuck with this person. But for those people that do not take the time to answer those basic questions, are like, you're not serious about the content and you're not even serious about your own product or believe in your own product itself. Well, that's pretty sad that you're trying to sell that to people that you don't even, in a product that you don't even believe in. So that's another way of me seeing things. So it's like, hey man, best of luck.
Yeah.
You don't even trust your own product.
Exactly.
So,
and I've had to learn the hard way how to say no to some jobs where it's like, I mean, of course the main thing always comes down to money, but there's definitely been jobs I could have done where I probably could have made a lot of money, but I just wasn't feeling good about the situation. And it's not like the client was a terrible person or, it was just like, this doesn't feel right. And I don't think it'll be a good thing for me to be involved in. So I'm just going to pass this off or I would never refer someone else I know and be like, here, take this. I don't feel good about it, but hopefully you will. It's just like, this isn't aligning. And I've learned the hard way that if you just take a job just to take it,
It's real tempting when that dollar sign's right there in front of your face.
Of course. And again, it really does come down to the money.
Yeah.
Of course. I don't think I've ever taken a job because I was going to make a bunch of money and it was the worst job ever. That's usually what makes it worth it. But there have been times where I'm like, ugh, I'm glad I worked with them. I learned a lot. Won't do this ABC again. But I can tell pretty quickly if the vibes are going to just be like difficult.
Sure.
Someone's going to be difficult
Yeah.
with me for sure. Like
The
specifically.
signs are so loud and clear, but you kind of want to bypass that and
it's
just
like
want to
red
just.
flags, except there's money involved, and you're just like, oh my goodness. That's the irony. That's the core for me personally, because I'm not married. I'm not in a partnership like that, but I can totally see the correlations between like my professional life and my personal life and my relationships. It's very similar. Like the communication, the trust building, all that stuff. So you have to be.
That is true. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, you're right.
If you don't have those personal relationships developed, and then you try to do this kind of stuff professionally, that's gonna bite you in the ass.
Damn.
It will. I'm just being honest. And the great part is when I'm learning about like in my professional world, I'm also learning how to just deal with people in my personal life.
Yeah.
So I'm growing at these parallel ways in my life. And I love that. I think that's amazing. And it helps me grow as a person. And I know the people that are in my life appreciate that because they can see the change in me.
Right.
As someone who's been doing this.
That's awesome. Are you? Yeah, that's some wisdom right there. Are you taking some sort of online course or reading some sort of book that's helping you?
I'm always reading self-help books almost. No, that's just popped into my head because I just realized that myself right now. I'm like, you know what? It has been a journey of like self-realization these past 4 years, and I hope it continues on, because think about it, you're dealing with people's egos, you're dealing with the only difference is the money, obviously, and like the product, but it's still your time and it's your effort, and I'm passionate about it, so I'm emotional about it, which is 99.9% of my relationships in my personal life. I'm emotional, and the communication and everything, it's like if you can do that kind of, it's like people who are therapists or even people who work in PR, people who work with people usually know how to have, not saying it's always great relationships, but they know how to get through those issues.
Any situation.
Think about it. If you have a job where you're not dealing with anyone and then all of a sudden if your personal life is suffering and professionally you're not also nourishing personal relationships. I mean, it's just, they all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Especially when you spend 40 plus hours a week at a job.
Yeah. And like going back to like the actual, like the creative, most creatives, I believe, are like introverts by nature.
Oh, see, I'm totally extroverted.
I think I'm a well-balanced individual.
Okay.
Like I like to be inside and outside and like
talk
to a bunch of people. But like, I think for the most part, like a lot of creatives just want to create for themselves.
Yeah.
But then they're like, all right, maybe I can make some money off this camera or graphic design, or not graphic design, off this camera. Exactly. Yeah. And then you have to interact with human beings. You have to interact with professionals like that are in the business world. And you guys are speaking two separate languages. And then you got to figure out, bro, what the fuck you're saying. And then you have your, it could be.
No, it's challenging, especially if you start working with like more elevated brands and people in the corporate world. Oh my gosh. I mean,
suit and tie.
when it comes, that's why it was funny that you said like corporate headshots. I'm like, headshots, yes. Corporate, no. Because I would love to do that, but it's intimidating. I mean, I see Tim and what he does and I'm like, oh my gosh, but he rolls in and he's got his spiel and he's got his equipment and his setup. And I'm like, he's found his niche and he's amazing at it and he delivers.
And he found a system.
And he's tried to give me his little, like, you should try this. And I've told him like, hey, I like to kind of do my own thing. And he's laughing at me because he probably knows like, all right, good luck with that. Because he knows like, you're going to learn the hard way. Yeah. And I do need to learn the hard way because I'm a little stubborn sometimes. But you
got to touch that hot stove one time.
Yeah. But I'm good with people and I make them laugh and I make them feel comfortable. And I think my thing is when it comes to clients, they value that more than sometimes. There's different types. There's some clients that are like, I just want you to make me look good. I don't really care about the conversation. I don't know how you're going to do it.
You don't make me comfortable. Just get it done.
Do it. Exactly.
Time is money.
And I'm like, ugh, I like don't like you, but I respect you for saying that because you're right. Time is money. What are we doing here? We're not going to like hold hands and braid each other's hair. But I do love when I work with a client who is a little bit like, you can tell they're a little uncomfortable. They're a little awkward. They're a little closed up. And then I loosen them up. And by the end of it, they're like, that was so fun. And I'm like, good.
And they'll always remember that.
They will. And I think that's most of my repeat clients when it comes to taking photos of people, portraiture and stuff. They're like, I want to work with you because I feel comfortable with you. And again, it makes me feel amazing.
That's one of the best feelings ever. It's literally one of the best feelings ever. That's awesome.
And you deal with that too. I mean, you're capturing people's freaking weddings and their special days and their virtual business cards or whatever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is that you're doing.
You
It's
gotta
like,
gotta literally just make them laugh, honestly.
make them laugh.
Yeah.
And then I can imagine it might be a little awkward though, because you're filming them. So
Yeah.
there's like, you're just like quietly watching them and they're just like, okay, let's pretend you're not
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I try to at least, like, if I'm working like doing talking heads, there's people around that are just staring at this individual. I'm like, yo, I need you guys out the room right
Yeah,
now.
no,
It's
they're
gonna
already
be me and this
uncomfortable.
subject, and I tell the subject like, hey, I don't exist. I'm behind the camera. You can't
Yeah.
even see me. Look at the lens.
Yeah.
Knock it out.
Yeah.
So, but I had a good question to ask you, and I completely forgot it right now. It was in regards to
Working with people, personal relationships.
not the personal relationship.
I'm just trying to talk about my personal life. Just let me be me.
It was. I have one, but I want to wait. I want to save that for for a little bit later. But I guess
Okay.
right now, I mean, I know you say you're not super into like the gear, but let's for the gear nerds out there.
Yes,
What kind
no.
of systems can you at least tell me if you do know?
This is all very old school. I shoot with Canon.
Okay.
And I started. I just recently bought my first mirrorless.
Okay. Which is
It's just the Canon R.
Okay.
They call it the Canon RP. I think it's called both.
Is that let's see if you know this. Is that a crop sensor lens or a full frame lens?
It's a full frame.
Okay, we do know that.
Yeah, or I think it can do both. No, it's definitely full frame. I don't know. No. It's a full frame. It's a full frame. I know for sure. Sorry.
Well, it's a crop. It can't do full frame.
You're right,
But
you're
a
right,
full
you're
frame
right.
can turn to crop.
That's what it is. Gotcha. Sorry. See, this is what's wrong with me. I can't be quick enough. I'm like, but lenses. I shoot with a fifth. They're all right now because I just upgraded. I have all my EF lenses, but I need to buy some RF lenses because right now I have an adapter.
Gotcha.
To use
Because those are older model, right?
older models. So
Yeah. See, I'm not familiar with Canon, but I do know like Canon has like old lenses. Like they're like modernizing the new
Yeah.
mounts right now.
Yeah.
Where
So-
at least with Sony, it's all E mount. So
Yes.
it's like they're all.
So for Canon, it's EF, and then now the new ones are RF. But I have an adapter to use all my EF lenses. But I am noticing the quality might be a little bit less, so I'm gonna have to upgrade to RF. But I shoot mainly I shoot mainly with 50 millimeter, 85 millimeter, 24 to 105.
Nice.
So-
Those are your bread and butter.
Great ranges. 50 is probably what I use.
You're covering the
most.
entire thing.
I am
with
covered
that.
with that. I still want more. I want a 35.
7200?
I want 7200. I want everything. I
With
mean,
the kind of shots you do, like with the coffee stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
food, like I feel like a nice 90 mil macro.
yeah.
would
So
do
for those,
justice
I
for
do
you.
either my 50 or 85.
Damn.
And it's funny because I have to get so far away, and then I have I'll have my roommate pour the coffee for me lately. I'm like, I need you to pour the coffee for me because I'll imagine trying to shoot
Oh,
and
that
pour
sounds
the
horrible.
coffee, and it's
Yeah.
just getting everywhere. I'm like, this is embarrassing.
Dude, you make coffee look so good.
I mean, it's funny how much time goes into that. Like even yesterday with my little breakfast I made, and I took photos with it. TBD on the gram. You're gonna see those soon. Because I made this cute little toast. And that's the stuff I get so much joy out of it. Like I'm like, this is so fun. Yeah. And it has nothing to do, I'm not making any money off this. I'm not, I'm just like, that's where my love for photography started. It was just like taking photos of like cute. I love
That's where I wanted to start.
details.
Actually, I wanted to start with like when did you pick up the camera and how did you know this was it?
So my dad,
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar if I don't remember us going through that at all.
I don't think so. So I was like 13, 14, and I would get those little crappy like point and shoots, and I kept breaking them. I would always drop them, and like I'd just run around taking photos of my friends and whatever. And I went to go visit my parents split up when I was young, so my dad, we always had to live in different places, different states, different countries at one point. So he was living in Texas, and I went out for the summer to visit him. And he was working, I didn't have any friends, and I would just spend the days with my little point and shoot and run around and like take photos of nature and sunsets and the park chain. Like I love detail shots, and I'd take photos of like butterfly, whatever I could see. I just took photos
As long
of
as
it.
we had a background blur, you're
Yeah,
good.
exactly. But I didn't know what I was doing. And these tiny little cameras, these $120 cameras. And one day he was looking at the photos I took on his, because I would edit them on his computer. He's like, these are really nice. You have an eye for it. Would you want for Christmas a DSLR? And I was like, oh, whatever. He's like a nicer camera. And I was like, okay. So my first camera was a Sony A300.
Okay.
And I should have, my life would have been different if I stayed with Sony. But I do love Canon. But I'm thinking about going back. We'll see what happens.
As far as photography, I hear
Yeah.
Canon's like the best.
Exactly. But Sony's, it's got its perks. And I just loved that camera. I did everything with it. I came back home to Hawaii and just took photos of everything and started high school. Post all my photos on Facebook. Everyone in my school knew that I was like a little photographer. People were always like, I to this day get memories on my Facebook of people like, let's shoot, let's go run around and take photos. So I would just, for free, just take photos of my friends or just random people even. And I loved it. I just was like, this is so fun. I always had my camera on me. All my friends knew I'd have my camera if we'd do anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just fun.
Yeah.
And then I upgraded to Canon. I got like a Canon T2i. And then I got a Canon 60D. And then I got a Canon 6D. And then I got a Canon 6D Mark II, which is the camera I had up until recently. I still have it as my backup because it's a great camera. And for different reasons, I might still use it for shoots. And then I just upgraded to mirrorless. And I'm going to probably upgrade again because I want a Canon. All my good friends that are doing this professionally have the Canon R5 or the R6. I was just not ready to drop all that money on it. I was ready. And then Tim was like, just get the R. Just start with that because you're going to adjust to mirrorless.
Well, he's not lying because like if you don't even know your triangle exposure, why get something so
I
beast?
know. He's like, listen, you don't know what you're doing. I don't want you spending $3,500.
Yeah,
you know?
seriously.
And I was like, okay. But I was like, but it's going to be just as clean, right? Like, because he's like, yes, just start with that. You know, it was $1,000 for the body.
Yeah, because you're essentially paying for more like the video features, which if I know you don't do any video.
Exactly. So the quality is there, and the lenses truly make most of the difference in my opinion.
And for your style of photography, you don't need a super high burst anyways.
I don't.
Because you're shooting, for the most part, controlled environments. If it's like headshots or coffee stuff or food stuff.
Yeah.
But like event photography, you do want a little bit of faster burst. But what you have right now, for the most part, normal cameras have enough burst to make that happen.
Absolutely.
To capture that still.
Yes. So
no need for you to get the latest and greatest.
And that's another thing. It's hard because there's so much stuff. And that's like a balance I've tried to, or not even a balance I'm trying to like deal with now because I'm starting to invest in more equipment. But for so long I was doing things where people were like, oh, you must have all this stuff. I'm like, no. And I'm not trying to gloat. Like, I'm just so good. Because I don't even really edit that much. And I don't want to open that door of like, I'm going to completely alter how this person looks or I'm going to do all this. Obviously, what the client wants, if they're willing to pay for retouching, blah, blah, blah. But I do pride myself. I'm just trying to make people look as good as possible without having to alter too much.
Sure.
And
speaking of editing, what are we using?
I use Lightroom.
Okay.
And sometimes Photoshop, but honestly, mostly Lightroom.
And what is your editing rig? Computer.
Oh. Oh my God, that was so bad. I'm
my
like,
bad.
deer in the literal headlights. I just have my MacBook Air, and then I have a really old
MacBook Air, and it's strong enough? Jeez.
Well, I have like an external hard drive and everything.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, but no, I do all my editing on that. I do have a really old. You can see my old Apple desktop. It won't upgrade past the 2011. It's so old. I will sometimes, HDMI FireWire that.
But as far as like MacBook Air, it's strong enough. Like you don't need no MacBook Pro.
No.
Jeez, I'm surprised.
I mean, I would like a MacBook Pro. I like the Air, though, because it's just so lightweight, and I can take it anywhere. It definitely has its heating moments where I'm like, this is going to burst into flames.
Yep.
So I think it's time I definitely get a Pro as well.
Yeah, good thing Tim told you. But like, do not invest in an unnecessary body. If anything, invest in like either lenses, lights, strobes, or a computer that's going to hold for the next 5-6 years.
And I've had that already. I've had it since 2019.
Okay.
I bought it 29. I think it was a 20. So my friend used to work at Best Buy, and he got me a good deal, and it was a 2018 model. So it's time to upgrade. For sure.
Sell that bad boy. Get a beast.
Exactly. But that being said, I mean, you have to definitely strategize your editing time frame for people, and that's something I used to just deliver as quickly as possible.
Fast turnarounds.
Fast. Obviously, if that's the conversation we have beforehand, I'll do that. Again, if
For
the money's
premium.
right. Yeah, exactly. But I do think I'm taking more time now to edit and putting more attention to detail because, if you just kind of skip over things or you just throw a preset on everything, it's not.
Which a lot of photographers do, by the way.
I've done it. I do it. But I'm starting to now like triple check before I export everything because I'm like, I don't know. I can tell when I'm rushing something and I'll like what I usually do now, I cull, which takes freaking forever depending on how much photos I'm going through, thousands, hundreds, thousands, whatever. Not hundreds of thousands, that would be insane. But I'll cull, take a step back, come back to it the next day, throw the same editing on all the photos just for the sake of
like basic corrections.
But I'll just like copy paste for all of them. Then I'll go through them and start tweaking each image in terms of like, okay, that doesn't look good in this, looks great on that.
Right.
And then I will toss a preset on there just to see, but I'm starting to realize, especially with like event photography, you have to edit the photos of the people so different than the photos of the food or the photos of the
Sunset.
Yeah,
Where you
whatever.
could manipulate the orange and the
Yeah.
yellows and whatnot, which you
So-
can't do with skin tones.
No. Ugh. And I've done that. I've like looked back at some of the old photos I have. I mean, never got really any complaints, but I'm like, why? And I've seen other photographers do that where it's like every color in the situation just looks
Different.
so unreal.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
And with wedding photography, that's huge because some people have like their set color tones.
The orange tone is such a popular look
It
for weddings,
is.
which I
The warmth.
personally hate. I don't like that.
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, like that's why when Kristen and I, my wife, were looking for a photographer for our wedding, the one thing I did request, I'm like, I just do not want that stupid orange look where it just looks crazy.
You know, and you guys did a great job of keeping it very natural colors.
Yes, and
I
then
will say.
her and I we're like pretty much aligned as far as like styles go. Like we
Yeah.
like that mono look, just not too saturated, just
Yeah.
kind of like good look. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
even
it
know how
was
to explain
clean.
it.
It looked normal. It looked realistic.
Yeah.
And while also looking beautiful and
Slightly
romantic.
muted, but like that's what we like.
Yeah.
So it's like
And that's hard. It's hard for those situations. How'd you guys, find
hashtag Silita photographer. And that's exactly, I mean, so hashtags still do work. I use
Absolutely.
it all the time. People find me through hashtags.
Same.
Sure, you may not be getting the engagement or the reach like you once could with hashtags, but people are still finding me and they're still hiring me through literally hashtags. I always like to ask like the clients that are working with, like, hey, by the way, how'd you find me? It's usually either referral or hashtag.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
tight.
I've been getting a lot of how'd you find me's through someone said they found me on Google, which I thought was crazy because I'm like, I don't know if
Strong
I'm doing
SEO girl,
my
okay?
SEO. I did recently go through my website and like change out. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this stuff. Like these are the things on my downtime that I need to be doing. Like
Yeah.
to putting effort and sometimes a little money into the marketing side of things. Obviously I
Yeah.
pay for my website, domain, all the basics, but cloud storage, all that stuff. But I
do
need
you
to.
update your website quite often since
Yes.
you're always shooting?
Yes, yeah, I update it, but I'm also trying to be better about not overloading it because I'm especially with like the photos that I'm not even getting paid for. I love my travel photos, and every time I get back from a trip, like visiting my mom up in Washington, hiking Mount Rainier, just getting back from Hawaii, I had all these photos I wanted to put on there, and I'm like,
And I feel like that's what Instagram was. That was like Instagram's like main goal back in the days. Like,
Yeah.
you post like whatever you're
food
doing.
and puppies and travel and whatever.
Yeah,
Travel
yeah.
hashtag travelgram.
But now it's like literally like social media has become the 2023 version of a resume.
Yeah, it is. No, and that's why, like you said, going back to the website versus Instagram, you need to have both.
Yeah.
Like Instagram's great for just a quick scroll, but I've also noticed a lot of older clients prefer the website
Yeah.
and like a Facebook page and
And
stuff.
older clients have the dough.
Yeah, so
So-
let's not be too proud to
It's like I vividly remember too, like one of the people that I work with, her photographer backed out last second, and I'm like, oh, I know the perfect person, but like, wait, does this person have a website referring to you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank gosh, there's a website,
Yeah.
like, because I did not want to refer somebody that did not have a website and just rely on Instagram, because that to me is a
No.
little tacky.
it's tacky and it shows that they don't really take their job seriously.
Exactly. This is just a side hustle. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
no, this person is worth every penny,
Yeah.
and she clearly cares about her work. So
Yeah.
and I'm glad it worked out.
Oh, that was great.
I wanted to ask you. I remembered if you could please.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
If you have a client horror story
Oh God,
out of one of many, but just give me the best one.
I'm like getting flashbacks.
And again, you
right
don't
now.
have to throw names, you don't have to throw
No.
numbers, but ballpark general idea would be kind of cool, just so whoever's listening could learn from it.
I wouldn't say horror stories.
Okay.
I definitely have some. I'm tied between two experiences right now. One was a little too personal though, so I wouldn't even use this as like a good example for anyone who's doing a freelance. I'd say for me, my biggest hiccup with clients in general, this is like a representation of the type of client. It's not even just this one person. People that don't know what they want, and yet they expect you to deliver a product almost showing them what they want, but then they see that they don't like that either, and then they go back to acting, and then it goes from them not knowing what they want to I know exactly what I want, and that's not. It's like, and then they keep trying to hire you,
This goes back to asking a billion questions,
right? But sometimes it doesn't
So
matter.
you cover your own butt for cases like this.
Sure, but even then, these people just don't get it. So for me, I think it was just this one specific client where it was just, and it all came down to how she looked in these photos, and I was like, look, I don't know what else to tell you. One, I think you're beautiful, like, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. Like, you're a beautiful person, like aesthetically, exteriorly. But
But from the inside, you're right.
no, it was just like
Kidding.
I started realizing like, oh my God. Like, and I think that's something that people need to realize. Like, people have deep rooted insecurities. It doesn't matter how beautiful you look or whatever on the outside. If you don't feel good about yourself, that is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. And I'm not the best person to work with if you are that insecure. So for me, it was just this person who was constant. She had found a problem with everything and wanted me to do the type of editing that I, at the time, did not do. And I still don't really want to do that. And while simultaneously underpaying me.
Slim the hips and whatnot.
Well, like literally, I had someone ask me if I could make them look taller, and I was confused because I was like, I don't understand
It's like,
how.
bro, this is how tall you are.
And I was like, was this a conversation about making them look more slender? Because they were plenty slender. So I was like, this is confusing, and I don't think I know how to do that. So I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry. And then the backlash of like, well, you said you could do this and all these things. I'm like, I never said I could do these things. I don't know what else to tell you. But the weirdest part was that they kept trying to hire me over time. So I finally had to close the door on that and just say, look, I don't think I'm the best person suited to work with you. I hope you find someone. A little piece of advice. I think you need to be a little bit more clear with yourself about your expectation. Not even with the photographer. Like, communicate what you want, but like at the end of the day, know exactly what you want this to look like, and then also be okay with that might not happen. Like, you could spend all the time and the equipment and everything trying to make this look perfect, but they're probably still going to find something wrong.
Yeah.
So
that must have hurt her ego when you said that.
Yeah, it was. But if she, you know what, she still kind of took it in stride. I think she was just a sociopath. Like, she was just kind of like, well, whatever, I'll find someone else who could do this. I'm like, okay, good luck. And then the underpaying aspect was the worst part. I feel like I probably have a legit horror story. I just can't think of it right now.
That's fine.
I'm like trying to bury that stuff.
It's all
down.
good. I do remember you told me that you're in the comedy scene. You want to tell us about that?
Personal. It's funny. I went last night to go back to the open mic place that I usually go to just to see what's going on, if anything's changed, because I haven't done it in months. I do that on the side just for funsies. I've always been a very like comedic, animated person, and people like my photography. Another thing people have always told me I should do is be a comedian, be a comedian. And I'm like, again, like, sounds like a pipe dream. I don't care. And I was just me making excuses. It's like, and I'm not trying to pursue comedy in a serious way, just to clear that up now.
Okay.
Like, cue to my Netflix special in 6 months. I'm like, but I do think it's important to nourish those sides of yourself where people are constantly telling you, you should try this. If it's like, if enough people tell you this, just try it. And it's so passive and easy. You just kind of go up when you want to go up, and you can make a couple people giggle, but the bombing is sad, I will say. I started asking my friends to go every time, and then it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is going to get bad because I'm going to do it more, and I'm going to be bombing, and I don't want anyone I know to see me because it's embarrassing.
I'm going to give you props because, like, first of all, like, public speaking is like one of people's most intense fears, and you're doing that. And I mean, even trying to make someone laugh, like with the jokes, I can't even imagine. Like, I follow, like, I'm sure as a comedian, fair to say, call you a comedian.
Yes.
Like Andrew Schultz, like, he says it's literally the hardest piece of art in the history of art.
It is.
Which I kind of agree. The way he explained it, it's like, dude, that's kind of true. He's like, and when you bomb, it fucking sucks, he says. Like, it really hurts when you bomb, but you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it, and you got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were to bomb once, like, dude, my ego's so cracked. Like, I'm not doing it again.
Well, and there's different types of bombing. There's bombing when the crowd just sucks, because last night I went and a lot of people bombed, and the crowd was also really bad. Like, in terms of, like, people you could tell didn't show up to laugh. Like, they just showed up to criticize, or they showed up because it'd be a fun date or something. So the crowd truly does dictate. Like, obviously you can think something's funny, but it can hit way better when, like, people are in a better mood.
Right.
And that's something comedians need to take responsibility for themselves. Like, look, it's not always about you. Like, I've gone up nights where every single person bombed, and there was great content there, and there was funny jokes. And then I went up towards the end, bombed, and got down and was like, what the fuck just happened? And this other comedian came up to me. He's like, don't worry, you actually did a great job from our standpoint. This crowd sucks. So
Gotcha.
Just keep going.
So the crowd kids suck.
The
customer's not always right after all.
No, the customer's not always right. And then, because think about it. It's just like, if someone's in a bad mood, it's like trying to cheer someone up when they're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Or I'm not really like a joke teller. I definitely just tell stories about my life. And then
Well, I feel like isn't that what comedian is? Like, it's like, I know we're like out of like the photography world right now,
okay.
but it's all good. It comes with the creative space. But from what I understand, that comedy is like an older heads game. And what I mean by that, it's like you need life experience for you to tell those like amazing stories, like what Dave Chappelle be saying, or Schultz or Rogan, anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just like the basic names I can think of right now.
Are you
But
supportive of Joe Rogan? We're changing things. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't have
I don't even listen to his podcast, to be honest, but he's just a name.
I'm fine with Joe Rogan. You heard me say it now. I don't care.
But like, it's like an older head game where you need the life experience for you to make those jokes happen.
Yeah. And I think I'm younger in the sense where people who are older than me, oh, you're so young, you're a baby, da, da, da. But I've been through so much random stuff, not like, oh, I've had a hard life. I've done a lot, and I've also seen a lot of stuff, and my parents are both, they split when I was young. I've traveled a lot, and I swear just the weirdest things happen to me, and I also choose to put myself in like odd situations. Okay. Maybe, I don't know if it's a subconscious thing. Chasing the thrill.
This will be a good story one day.
Yes, but I don't think about it like that at first, and then after it happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was awful. That was so funny. And that's like, and I have notes on my phone of just like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and have like a whole set. I did that the other night, and I didn't like record it or write it down because I was just like riffing with myself in my head. I'm like, I'll go to bed. I'll remember all this tomorrow. Don't remember any of it.
Yeah,
and
never.
I was like, damn it, it would have killed. So I don't know. I mean, but then I think about, I just want to make people feel good in my everyday life and my clients. I love making my clients laugh because it's like, they're already doing something where they feel a little awkward and a little pressured. I try not to insult them because I am very blunt and I can totally like hurt people's feelings without knowing, and that goes hand in. I need to be careful.
I've done it a few times too.
I have to do that all the time with work. I have to remember, okay, I don't know this person well. I can't just say whatever, and I'm very pushy and I can be kind of bossy. And in some ways, most of the time, people like that. They're like, "Oh my god, thank you for being super like direct and telling me how to pose." But I've had those clients here and there that are like, I thought you were a little harsh on me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
They've said that.
Mm-hmm.
Awkward.
And it's more or less never like the client exactly themselves. It's like when I'm doing like a group shoot or something, and you can tell there's one person who's just kind of annoyed that I'm being like pushy. But I'm like, if we only have an hour or whatever, it's all about the time frame. If you want to pay for hours of my time, I'll hold your hand and I'll make you feel good, and we'll spend 30 minutes talking about how cute you are. Yeah. But no, I'm not getting paid enough for me to like, again, paint your toes and braid your hair. So this is not a sleepover. Stand in front of my camera and just smile and just do whatever whatever the execution needs to be. Please do it. Work with me. Yeah. I can't do all the work for you.
For sure.
So I do get it's a patience thing. You have to be very patient in this business. And that's why I get terrified thinking about doing like a wedding. I've only done like smaller ceremonies.
Dude, I think weddings are so easy.
Well, maybe for filming, I think it's a little different because you're just capturing almost everything that's happening. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I mean, at least for my style of wedding, I don't capture everything. I just know what I need to capture. Like I've trained my associate shooter, like, hey, don't overshoot. Okay. Get what you need to do. You know how my edits look already, so you know what I need. So we're averaging probably like around 20 to 25 gigs per camera or per card, which is usually 2 cameras, but third camera on the ceremony, which is like not that much. But yeah, it's pretty easy. And I will say I pretty much follow the photographer in a way. So
I was just gonna say,
I let the photographer like, yo, you guide them, and then I'll just have them do it again.
I'll just cruise in and get the moment.
Exactly.
Well, so that would be my fear, is like not being able to capture them.
Because they are a lot more animated. They are way more the photographers have to be more directed, more they have to like direct the couple. Yeah. Where sometimes I do if there's a specific shot that I want. But for the most part, I'm like, yeah, you're killing it. I'm just gonna capture that. Yeah. See, there you go. It does work, and I could do it. It's just like I'm terrified of missing like a special moment, and it's like these people are spending so much. You can't recreate this day. Yeah. So that's why I've kind of steered away from the wedding thing. But I'm thinking about it. I've definitely had a couple inquiries for this year of people that just know me. But I'm like, give it a shot. It's really not that hard. It's not even that I think it's hard. I think it's just like, again, the nerve wracking, and then like not knowing if you got everything, and then going home and editing. Because I know at my old job at the hotel, I was a sales coordinator, and we had to work with a lot of wedding groups coming in, and just dealing with like people who are getting married in general. They can be kind of nightmares. Yeah, I probably dealt with a couple of bridezillas in my time, and which like, again, I don't take things personal at all. I'm like, yo, you're stressed. It's one of the most stressful things you can go through. Apparently, I can't relate. We weren't stressed. Like we were just. Well, I think you guys did a good job of keeping it, like you said, smaller. It wasn't as and. Clearly, you found a good woman, because there's some people who are just like kept it very simple, and I mean, tequila always helps too. Yes, seriously, Don Julio shots. Like, I'm at the point too where it's like at certain shoots, I wanted to like show up with like a
shooter or something. So I'm like, here, relax. It's like when you give the kids candy to pose for family portraits.
True.
That works.
Yeah.
Like there's like a little kit I'll bring now for like shoots like that. Cause I'm like, okay, the kid, as long as the parents are okay with it, I'm like, can I give her like a Hershey's kiss? And they're like, oh my God, yes. And I'm like, they will be so much happier.
I feel like you have the personality to execute a wedding shoot because you got to keep them like they're for the most part they're usually tense and you got to like make them feel relaxed and whatnot. So I think that you do pretty good. So
I think I would, and the money's great. So
yeah, yeah, it's amazing how like the benefit about weddings is like for the most part, wedding couples have a hell of a budget for photography and the rest of the scraps goes for video, which is blows my mind because it takes a lot more work. In my personal opinion,
it does.
It takes a lot more work to create a video than photos. But
editing
again,
wise,
that is just my opinion.
No.
I may get some backlash on that, but
I 100% agree. I do because that's a funny thing. Like I think about it all the time. I'm like, I don't even know if I would pay the money for myself.
I told myself
I can't afford myself.
I've said that many times. I cannot afford myself.
It's like, but I'm not saying that in a way like, oh, I wouldn't pay. It's like I just, because I'm not at that place where I have any sort of business where I need that. And then my friend Stacy and I just went and took photos of each other at the Wonder Museum downtown. It's
Which
like
I want to
cool installation space. Go. It's super cool. It's smaller than I thought it would be, but it's still super dope. And the installation.
I plan on going there for my birthday.
Yeah, you should go there. Yeah. So we did that, and it's funny because both of us. Just like our free time, and we both were shooting each other, and it was just for fun. The photos are just like fun.
The story, I saw the stories and it looks sick.
Yeah, it was super.
So you
sick.
could take a camera there, which is good. I didn't
can,
know
yeah,
you could or not.
You can't.
I wanted to ask you, but you saw you post your stories. I'm like, all right, you clearly could take your camera.
Yeah, it was fun, and then we both were just laughing because we're like, and we talk about taking photos of each other in the future, just for fun for each other.
Yeah, it's always good to have.
But it's just like anyone, a client, we're obviously going to charge them for this, but because we're both creatives and we both value each other's work, it's a nice kind of embargo to have with other creatives, like help each other out. Because I would love to do like a full branding shoot for myself, but then when it comes to like video and things like that, like you have to invest in yourself and you have to invest in people and actually like value their talent and their time, because that takes way more time.
I mean, just looking at the production you guys were involved with Tim, like
oh no, it was
like
a whole freaking thing,
movie.
Days. It was like an all week thing.
Yeah, it looked like a freaking movie.
I came in, I was like, oh my God. He's like, I didn't even realize this was going to be this big of a production. I was like, well,
and that's just for
get
him,
what you
right?
pay for. Yeah, it was for him, for his website.
Sick. That's awesome.
It was super sick,
and
it's going to look amazing.
And he's going to stand out from literally the rest of like the masses of San Diego photographers or even Southern California photographers, just by having that strong video on his portfolio or on his website, wherever it's going to land.
Yeah.
But
people don't realize how much time and money it takes to even showcase yourself. And that's why it's like there's ebbs and flows. I take a lot of photos of myself. Like I just do my own self like portraits all the time. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty. I'm going to go in my room and set up my tripod. But it works and I have a great time and the photos turn out pretty decent. And I'm like, all right, this is gonna be my headshot for now, or I'll elicit one of my good friends like Lindsay, who I trust, who's still kind of creative, even if she's not completely a photographer. And I'll be like, can you just take photos of me? Cause I take photos of you all the time. And let's just, I just need a cute, fun headshot. And she'll be like, yeah, sure. Whatever. Right. So as a creative, you have to be open to working with other people and like developing those relationships, because if you're trying to do some solo weird every man for himself thing, good luck. And like, it's just not, it's not fun, first of all, because then you just feel angry all the time. You're pissed off if you don't get a job, you're alone. It's like, you should want to be friends with people who also get what you're going through. Yeah. None of my friends have their own business like this. All my friends have like 9-to-5s, boring jobs. No. Some of them have like actually really cool jobs, but they're just different and they don't understand.
It's a different world.
They don't understand what I'm going through. I don't understand what they're going through. Yeah. So that's like the one thing we can't really relate to when it comes to our jobs.
Yeah. Outside of, I can relate outside of the people that like colleagues like you and like Rafi and Tim and other people. Before I got into the space and I started doing it by myself, I didn't know anybody that was doing what I was doing, like freelancing. They just had like the traditional jobs. Again, it's not a knock. It's amazing. Yeah. But like I knew that wasn't for me. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like I got to know all these creatives with my camera, and then we just became cool homies ever since. Yeah. Like,
because it's a different lifestyle, and like the issues you run into with your everyday struggles they're just different.
Yeah. So, and we could always collaborate as far as like, hey, like I literally just had a question before I pulled up here. It's like, hey, I have a business question from a associate. It's like, hey, I have a business question. Let me know what your thoughts on this. And I kind of give some pointers, and this is what I would do personally about this business proposition. And it's cool that we could do that for each other and help each other out, because we're only going to elevate each other up and then hopefully get that bag a little bit higher,
Yeah, exactly. And I've only really started hanging out with on a personal level other photographers in the last like year or so, but I'm already just like having so much fun. We're friends, and then when we work together, it's fun because we're just like, oh,
Yeah,
this is such
just
a good
goofing
time.
off, yeah.
You're just kind of goofing off, and then you get the job done, of course. But it's just way better than like the awkward because you know I'll work with other photographers sometimes I don't know that well, and it's just like it's cool, but it's not as I don't think it's as beneficial because you don't have that comfort with them and the like mutual respect. You're like, how are these photos gonna turn? What's going on with this person? Like, or you're like having that awkward conversation about your gear or whatever, and you're like, what are you shooting with?
It's like Dick's measuring
I
contest
got
at
an
that point.
Nikon.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got a Canon. It's like I don't care about that stuff,
Seriously,
but I feel
and it
like I
doesn't even
need
matter.
to. I'm like, oh yeah. So you got to stay open. You have to be more like open-minded in these industries, and especially when it's like cross-reference between like videography, photography, creative directing, whatever, your makeup artist, stylist, whatever. It's like I want to have someone in my network that does all those, like one person for each thing. So then like when my clients ask, I refer you or I refer whatever. It's like, of course,
And it's happened.
It's happened
Yeah.
and it's already worked out and it's amazing. And you believe in the people that you're referring. Because if you don't know someone that well or you don't even know their work well, it's like, it's kind of embarrassing. If you're
It
like,
is.
yeah, work with this person. And then they're like, I had a bad experience with that person.
Sheesh.
And you're like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm so lucky to have like my network of like people that I could rely on and trust. Like
Yeah.
if there's more work to pass out, I'm like, all right, I know this photographer that does specialize in this, specializes in that.
Yeah.
This video does this. And so, yeah. Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
can you give like one last tip for any creatives, specifically for like females? Like one last gem out there.
I think for women specifically, they just need to remember that not every, just because they're not like necessarily like giving you the constant reassurance doesn't mean that they're not thinking about you or they're on your team or they believe in you. Even when it comes to clients, like I didn't lose a client, but I had a client ask me to take a job. I told them my rates increased. I can tell they're not too stoked on it. They're going to pass on that specific job, but they want to like talk more about my rate increase and like get more of a conversation going. But I know for a fact they're probably going to work with this other photographer that I know. And she's amazing. She kind of just started out. She's probably charging much less than me. And that makes perfect sense on a business standpoint. And immediately I kind of got just like annoyed and upset. I responded very professionally. It's fine. But I have to remember like, all right, you know what? This is a great experience for her. And like, if they already couldn't afford me and they don't want to pay my rates, like what am I really losing? And I think it's important, again, to have a good network of people and like not take things too personally. And remember that like the reassurance that you're seeking will come over time. But you do need to kind of put your head down, pay your dues, and hustle. And if you do that, it will pay off. As far as timing, I can't tell you that, but you just need to like, you'll know when you've worked hard enough, and then naturally people just start kind of like giving you that validation and reassurance because you've earned it. So
Bars.
keep on trucking.
Well, guys, Kat, thanks for Kat, right?
Yes.
Not
it's
Catherine.
Kat. No, it's Kat.
Thanks for hopping on the podcast. And guys, ladies and gents, we will have her Instagram link in the description. And we'll catch you guys later.
Yay.
Peace.
Thank you.